Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark. I'm also a shamanic Reiki teacher at Stargazing Angel, located outside of Charleston, South Carolina. I do Reiki and shamanic healing, intuitive readings, and more. And my website is tinakittyclark.com. Today's guest is Arlene Cohen Miller. I'm really excited to talk with her today. We've been going back and forth for months to get this recording, and finally, the divine timing has occurred, and we are together today. She is a work-life harmony and leadership coach. She also does crystal healing and soul healings. And also, she can talk on unconditional love, which we may speak on a little bit later. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about you, Arlene, and let our listeners know more about you and your background and what do you do?
Well, you summed up a lot of it. I am a work-life harmony and leadership coach for women, and I am also a transformational mentor for men and women. And I do soul readings, which is really like a heart-to-heart connection. I work with psychic tarot, oracle cards, and I just find that as adults, when we have a visual and auditory and we're there with each other and we're both picking the cards. I do it online mostly because people come to me from all over the place, but it's just a wonderful way to get in touch with, the opportunities that are available, the challenges and obstacles that we need to move around, how to do that with more grace, ease, and flow, and, whatever else comes up for them during our time together. And I do feel that it is kind of like a healing session, like you introduced it. That is a byproduct of it. So, yeah, those are some of the things that I'm doing now. I am a pretty much retired attorney, and I decided I was going to do that when I was around 15. So I went to university, I went to law school, and I practiced for a very long time. A lot of family law with divorce and custody and visitation. And then I moved into a more business realm of commercial law because as an empath, it was really, really hard to be in that energy all the time.
Yeah, so that's quite a switch from being a lawyer to doing soul readings. But were you always intuitive and sensitive?
I was always intuitive and sensitive. I just didn't realize it when I was growing up that everyone wasn't like me. And so a lot of the things that really hurt me or were very, very difficult growing up, they just didn't affect other people. And I didn't really get that was going on for quite a while. But it wasn't really until around when my son was born, when I was 30, that I really began to dive into it, learn all sorts of healing modalities, take courses, go to a weekly class where I really, where the universe was sort of like leading me and saying, okay, you really need to start diving in and actually participate in the world with this. And so, yeah, that's when it all started.
Yeah, so we were talking before the recording on what we wanted to focus on for this episode. And one of the questions I often ask my guests is, what are your clients struggling with right now? And what we've come to the conclusion, as many of my clients too, is the level of stress and overwhelm, and combined with a level of sensitivity. So what's going on with your clients right now, and how are you helping them? What kind of tools are you giving them to deal with all this stress?
Yeah, I just think there's just so much going on, and it's like it's traveling through the genetic line to people. It's traveling maybe just through some of their sexual connections, and even if they're not together and they're really kind of messed up, it's just coming in from all different directions. That if you don't know how to cleanse and clear and protect yourself, you're going to be especially bowled over by these kind of energies that are going on now. So with mentoring, which I do, people are more standing on my shoulders and my wisdom, and I can share it directly. With coaching, I'm walking alongside of them. I can offer some intuitions and comments and see what they want to do with it, but it's not like I'm telling them what to do. But overall, what I love to introduce my clients into is, how to take care of yourself energetically. really simple tools of like putting a golden bubble of protection around you, how to cut energetic cords that are connected to you, whether because you sent them out or someone sent them to you or a group sent them to you and they're not about love, how to cut those, how to clear those, how to cleanse those, how to cleanse our bodies with different, vibrations of healing energies. And I really also love to work with the universal violet flame. It's the seventh ray of source. It transmutes and transforms fear into love. It's the ray of the new age of Aquarius. We can use it for our own personal healing. We can use it to cleanse and clear our cars, our homes, our kids that are under the age of 16, where we work. We can be like out in space, loving the planet, and center the violet flame to cleanse and clear all the kingdoms on Earth. So that's one of the other main things that I love to help people to play with and to have more success in their life. So what they're feeling is actually their stuff and not the stuff that they've taken on from others.
Exactly. I mean, you need to, have the self-awareness of what's coming from you and what's coming from outside of you. And when you're a sensitive person, you're picking up on everything, whether you're conscious about it or not. And so it's interesting that I also practice a lot of, shielding or more like pushing. I'm the more push love energy out and assume that clears out anything that's not for my highest good. But the interesting thing is, I was on Facebook the other day, and this Reiki master who's very well known that I follow had posted about how we shouldn't be concerned about shielding ourselves because that the basis of that is fear. What do you say about that, Arlene?
I say that with all due respect, I sincerely disagree, because when I go into a shopping center, I put Metatronic shields around my bodies and fields or a hospital. They don't cleanse and clear those places. So the thing is that what I liked about the shielding is this. What I'm saying is that I want to be a kind, patient, tolerant, loving force for the world. But it's not okay for you to dump your negative energy into my field. And it's not okay for you to suck my positive energy. Because if I allow that to happen, how can I be the highest, clearest, brightest server that I can be? I can't be. I'm busy like cleansing and clearing and filling myself up with more love to compensate for that happening. So it's foolish to not put that energy around us. When I put this stuff around me, unconditional love energies and above can come in. Anything else is just mirrored back to their source, because I can't cleanse and clear anyone else's stuff or any other group's stuff but my own. So I am actually providing a service to the universe by sending it back to them so that they can deal with it. They might not feel that way, but if it's not there in their bodies and systems, and they came into this life in part to clear this stuff, it might not be a life well lived, because they've sent it out to other people or groups and they've kept it. So he may be an amazing healer, but I've met a lot of people that feel that way, and it's like out there in the psyche somewhere. And I just think it's really false, unhelpful information that we need to let go of.
Yeah, I agree. I've always, when I first started doing, psychic work or Reiki work, I was shielding myself, and it actually made my aura stronger and more resilient. Whereas I wasn't walking around like a sponge absorbing everything, because that's not good for anybody. And so, yeah, I agree. The comment put me off, but I just kept scrolling.
Well, lots of people who learn all kinds of healing modalities, they don't work with psychological clarity. So they might, have a big expanded space, but you're setting yourself up for a crash or a fall if you're not working with psychological clarity, noticing, where you have places that are embedded in fear, patterns and programs, and learning to let them go and let more light and love in. If we're not doing that, I feel like we're setting ourselves up for a fall.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why we're here is to know ourselves and really understand ourselves. And When it comes to sensitives or empaths, there's too much overlap with everything else. And then we tend to carry other people's emotions or thoughts. So we definitely are picking up on other people's thoughts. Everybody is, not just sensitive people. But I think just that self-awareness. And then if you are really stressed out and overwhelmed, you come to an understanding that not all that information out there or the emotions you're picking up on is even your responsibility. Because it has, I always say, mind your business, right? So one time I walked into Target years ago, and I was just, walking through shopping, and all of a sudden I felt really angry. And I had the mindfulness to stop and say, Tina, is there a reason why you should be angry right now? And I just was like thinking, and I was like, there's no reason why for me to be angry. And then it hit me that I just walked into somebody's anger bubble that they left at Target. And it was so strong. It was so overwhelming. It wasn't just like, oh, it's a little bit weird. It was like, bam. And I thought to myself, not my stuff, not my responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, and a friend of mine that's a shaman always goes, what's mine is mine, is what yours is yours. What I do is, and it's all the same thing in the family, it's like I release all energy that's not of me and not of love back to its original source with love, and I command you to leave now. And then I call forth light and love to fill my bodies where that fear was. And we have to do that, because people don't want to feel their feelings, but feeling is healing. If we feel that, if we feel our own stuff and love it and let it go like into the violet flame, and then bring in more light and love, we're actually doing a service for ourselves. Well, we can't do it with other people's stuff. So same thing, just different words.
Yeah, completely. And then think about your contribution to the collective energy. The more you work on yourself and clear yourself and keeping that vibration high, that adds to the collective as well. And we're being responsible for our own feelings and our own energy and our own issues, right?
Yeah. And I think a really cool thing, I think we're saying it the same way, just a different way. There's like a lower level of the Akashic records. And when we do something like this, where we're sending something back, we're grounded in love, or we're having those clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries, we just go, oh my God, this is so amazing. It gets embedded in that lower level of the Akashic records, because our human is involved in not just our soul or in spirit. And so when people have the stress and stuff that's hitting them, there's a new way that they can reach for, and not the old way of going into all that fear and anxiety and overwhelm. So we're also providing that service.
So can you give me maybe a favorite story about yourself, or maybe one of your clients, and how they were able to use some of these tools to, de-stress or deal with their overwhelm or sensitivity?
Yeah. Well, there's a lovely young man, and he has just been kind of in and out of depression for a while. And what I'm noticing is that, well, first of all, I do spiritual classes online every week, and in person as well, in addition to what I shared. And I really feel that when we come together as a group of like-minded souls with a purpose of evolving and growing, having that psychological clarity, cleansing, clearing, and dealing with some topic, it could be gratitude, whatever we deal with every week, we're able to move through things a lot more quickly. So I was working with him as a client and working with him, coming to my classes sporadically. And I just found that by holding the space that we do for people, that big, loving, judgment-free space, and playing with tools like, empowering our inner coach, de-energizing our inner critic, being truly grateful in our hearts, not with a mind thing, with a heart thing, plus all this energetic cleansing, clearing, healing, and protecting. Slowly but surely, I'm noticing him step forward and feel bigger, and not beat himself up so much, and know that it feels like a big seed of hope has been planted in his heart, so that he knows that he can step forward, because I really believe that I don't want people to be reliant on me. I want them to step up and know how to take care of themselves, be there as a support, but to empower the people that I work with so that they are fundamentally changed and can step into like a higher, clearer, brighter version of themselves.
Yeah, that's wonderful that he's able to do that. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about work-life harmony, which is one of your specializations. So you work with women in regard to that, correct?
Yeah, because my area, I love men. I don't have anything against men, but my area of expertise is working with women because as an attorney, I worked for a couple of other attorneys for a few years, and then I started my own solo law practice when I was 29. Immediately found out I was pregnant. And my then husband, I'm not married to him anymore, moved from the South to the Midwest. So all of my family, all of his family was in the South. All of my law school colleagues were in the South. So I didn't have a tribe, and I just started a business. And so I had to develop my own tribe, learn how to be a working mother and do a great job at that while attending to my son. He was very, very important to me. So I went through all of that. And there weren't coaches like us back then. There was some counselors, there were psychologists, but I really didn't need that. That wasn't that helpful. I needed someone who could like coach me or mentor me through something, or even healers, which I did find a little bit later on. So I guess I just have a real fundamental, joyful place of being able to help women who are in that situation or in any situation when it comes to, balancing and harmonizing their life when we have so many plates that are spinning at once, because I get them.
Right, especially women who are expected to do a lot. I feel like more than our share, especially as mothers. And so, how would you deal with the expectations of a husband that, you know, expected their wife to work, come home, and then work again all over the household?
Well, I cannot deal with someone who's not my client. And I guess what I tell my clients is that, if we change and we need to juggle things around and maybe divide household chores differently, we're changing. Our partner hasn't changed. So it's important to be kind, patient, and tolerant with them. We love them, but we can't continue like this unless we're going to fall flat on my face and not be able to get off the floor because it's just too much. Some of my clients who are wealthy enough that they hire people to do a lot of the things like driving their kids places or cooking or cleaning and stuff like that. A lot of people don't have that kind of money. So if we are changing and we're choosing to make those changes, and we need to work with our partner, whoever we're living with, whoever's interacting with us, we just need to be kind, patient, and tolerant, and hopefully they'll sort of begin to see that it's better that way. They're going to have a partner that's happier, more joyful, less stressed out. That probably means they're going to want to be with them more and do some of the things that guys like to do, women too. But it's
Mhm.
going to have a different partner there, and so it's going to benefit them too.
Definitely, for sure. So, what do you have any recent projects or books that you want to speak upon?
I have a blog, which is on my website, Jewel Consultancy, but I'm not in the process of writing any books. I guess well, you can come to my website, of course, and I'm sure you'll have that in the notes about coaching and mentoring and all that stuff. What I'm working on right now is I had this calling. It happened about 6 months ago. It's like, you need to get out there and be a platform speaker or do workshops at conferences, associations, businesses. And so I'm in the process of working through a course that's interesting and stretchy to get out there. It's not that I don't know how, because I have done a lot of podcasts, but it is different. It's a different version of what we're doing here. So I guess be on the lookout for that. And one of the people that I want to work with the most, of course, is women. So if you have any organizations or places that you know could use someone like me, who's an empath and intuitive like you, to come and speak for your group, come find me at Dual Consultancy. And that's what's new on my plate.
So can you mention the topic of your workshop?
Well, the workshops, they're going to vary a little bit, but it's going to be work-life harmony, leadership skills, letting go of stress and stepping into more confidence, self-assurance, calm self-esteem, self-love, self-worth. That's going to be the overarching thing that we're going to be working with, and all sorts of ways to do that. How much I share depends on whether I'm doing a keynote or it's a longer workshop, but that's the general focus, that I will be bringing out into the world.
Okay. Well, do you have any final words for the listeners? Because this is a podcast on holistic healing. Any tips for people out there who are super stressed out? I don't know who's not stressed out, actually.
I do have a tip, and that would be, we need to stop focusing on our inner critic and focus on our inner coach. And the easiest way that I love to train women to do it is we already know how to do it. I don't have to teach you this skill. If you have a child, if you have a friend, if you have someone you care about in your life that is telling you all the kinds of things that's going on in their life that are not working and how stressed they are, you naturally have the ability to be a great listener, to be empathic, intuitive, to share some insights, to be there for them, and to help them focus on the positive and let go of what's not working. And so all we need to do as women is start letting go of anything that tells us that we're not worthy of that, or it's being selfish, and start giving that to ourselves. When we hear ourselves going blah, 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 blah in our ear, and it's negative, no, we're not doing that anymore. What can I say to myself that I would say to someone else? And start saying that to yourself. You might feel like a fraud at first, but eventually you'll get more comfortable with it, and it can be more a part of who you are, and it can help to raise you up.
That's awesome advice. And we need to tell that inner critic, no, you're wrong, you're lying, be quiet, however it works. Clear, cancel, delete. Well, thank you, Arlene, for taking the time to be on the show. If you'd like to work with her, all her information will be in the show notes.
Thank you for having me.